So let's begin. Bring your mind to your breath. The breath acts as a bridge between the mind and the body. It's said that the mind is the master of the senses, but the breath is the master of the mind. So direct your mind to watch your breath. Inhale deeply, prana, life force, which is available to you free, gratis, and for nothing. Take of that which is freely available and exhale fully what you no longer need. It's important in life. Let go of it as lightly and as thoughtlessly as you took it, and you don't need it anymore. Couple more deep breaths as you inhale. Make sure that you're filling the lungs fully and that the belly is also engaging. It needs to dome to create space for a full breath. And when you exhale, make sure you've let go of everything. Breathing deeply. So when you're ready, arrange yourself into a box position. Make sure you've got plenty of cushioning under your knees if you need it. Have your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Have everything hip distance apart so that you've got two parallel lines from fingertip to toe tip. Exhale and round the spine, taking your eye gaze towards your thighs. And then inhale as you lift your chest through your shoulders and drop your belly down. So this is cat-cow. Exhale as you come into cat, arching the back like an angry cat, and inhaling as you come into cow pose. Drawing the shoulders back and down, drawing the sternum forward and up, maybe taking your eye gaze forward and up as well. So we'll do two more of these. If you're feeling quite warm, you can make this quite a big movement. If you're feeling stiff, then make it slow and gentle. Try and locate your vertebrae. Try and have a sense of them as moving separately from one another. Your back's not a flat pack, not an ironing board. It's a nice curved chain, and you need those intervertebral ligaments to stretch so that you've got nice space between all of your vertebrae. Next time you exhale, sit back on your heels in child's pose, balasana. Come into this pose at any point in class when you need a rest. Inhale, come back onto all fours. Stretch your right fingertips up towards the ceiling. Open your chest to the right. And as you exhale, take that right arm underneath your left armpit. Back of the hand comes to the floor. Shoulder comes to the floor. Maybe your ear comes to the floor as well. You can stay here. If you want a little bit more, you can stretch your left hand away towards the front of your mat. Or you can open up the left side of the body and increase that twist by taking your left hand behind and maybe bringing your left fingertips to your right inner thigh. Parshvabalasana. Keep breathing deeply, keep engaging your belly muscles with your breath. Inhale to release that hand if you've got the bind. Press your left hand into the mat as you release your right shoulder. Press both hands into the mat and sit back in child's pose. Exhale. Come forward when you're ready on an inhalation. This time the left fingertips float up, and as you exhale, the left hand comes under the right armpit, back of the hand to the floor, shoulder, maybe the head as well to the floor. Stretch your right hand away from you to the front of your mat. Your option is to stretch your right hand up to the ceiling, draw it behind you. Keep opening the chest, spinning your lower ribs up and round towards the ceiling. Make sure you're still breathing deeply. One more breath here. We inhale to release the top arm, press the right hand into the mat, release the lower arm, and we exhale into child's pose. Inhale, come forward. We're going to do Vasisthasana, side plank. So your lower option is to slide your right foot back, keeping your left knee on the mat. Turn your left foot out to the side. Bring your right toes down to the mat and come into modified gate pose. Any issues with the shoulder, that's your option. Otherwise, come into plank. Set up your plank. Spin your inner elbows forward and press back through your heels. Energy through the body. Lengthen from your top of your head to your heels. And when you're ready to come into side plank, you roll over, stacking the feet, or you can stagger the feet, or you can press your right foot down so it acts as a buttress. And by pressing into your right foot, you can get some more elevation. So there are a number of options for you here. Vasisthasana, you can look up if you want. If you're an experienced yogi and you're feeling strong, then as well as balancing here, you can think about lifting that top leg, maybe coming into tree or reaching your hand towards the foot. Lots of options there if you want to work hard. Lots of options if that's not for you. Take one more breath here. And when you're ready to come out of it, come back into plank or all fours, drop to all fours, and then sit back in child's pose. Take your time here if you want to. There's no rush. When you're ready to come forward, I'll show you the options again. So here, the low option, left foot slides back, right foot slides out, and we come into modified gate pose or set up your plank. So if you're there already, just take some more breaths in plank. Lovely core strengthening exercise, Kumbhakasana, breath retention pose. And when you're ready, come over, open your chest to the left, maybe take your eye gaze up, maybe stack your feet, maybe stagger your feet, or you've got the buttress option here. Your choice, your practice, your breath, your mind, your yoga. Stay here for a couple more breaths. Coming back, transitioning through plank if you've taken that option. Dropping the knees and sitting back in child's pose. Inhale, come to all fours, tuck the toes, lift the bottom high to the ceiling, press back into the heels, lift your pelvis, draw your chest towards your thighs and your heels towards the ground. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Pressing into the fingertips to release pressure on the wrists. And from here, soften the knees and walk to the front of your mat. Inhale, open the arms, come up to standing, and exhale, hands to your heart center. So we'll do a quick Surya Namaskar. Go through at your own pace if you know what you're doing, otherwise I'll talk you through it. And then we've got our warrior sequence. So we inhale, up and over. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, the right leg lunges back. And we retain the breath as we take that left foot back into plank pose. We exhale to knees, chest, chin, Ashtangasana, leaving the bottom high, bringing chest and chin through. And then we inhale to cobra. Draw the shoulders back and down, keep the eye gaze down. Exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale, take the right leg up high, and exhale as you draw it through the hands and into lunge. Bring your feet in forward fold, and then open up the body to Urdhva Hastasana. Into the hands if you know where you're going. Inhale as you draw through, lengthen and lift. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg. You can use a bit of momentum here to draw it all the way forward. Some of you might not need to. And exhale, bring the other leg through. Inhale and exhale. So that's our warm-up done. So standing in Tadasana, stretch your arms up and we'll take a side bend. Take hold of one wrist and open up the side of the body in Dudalasana, standing crescent pose. Draw your lower ribs up towards the sky and make sure that you're not falling forward or back. Stretching the side here. Inhale to the center, change hands, and exhale to the other side. You want to keep your hips level here if you possibly can. Inhale to the center and exhale. So standing at the front of your mat, Bring your hands to your hips and take your right leg back. We're coming into warrior one. So warrior one, deep knee bend in the front leg. You need to adjust your back foot so it's not open. That's warrior two, that's warrior one. Make sure you know the difference because you want your back hip head to come forward. Draw the front hip crease back hip forward. You want them level here. Inhale, open into your warrior one. Remember your foot position here. From here, exhale deeply. And then when you inhale again, we're going to open the arms, open the hips. Now we're going to adjust the back foot so we're in warrior two. So your back foot now is parallel to the short end of your mat. Your hips are opening to the long end of your mat. And your knee also wants to be going to the other short end of your mat. Inhale here and exhale, looking down your front fingers. That's your drishti, your eye gaze. So this is warrior two. Inhale, straighten both legs. Stick your hips to the right as your body starts to tilt to the left, and then we're coming down into Trikonasana, triangle pose. So this is where a block might be handy. Spinning the lower ribs up towards the ceiling. If you're confident, take your eye gaze up to your lifted thumb. If you don't need the block, that's fine. Maybe you can come to the floor, but make sure you're not falling forward to get to the floor. Keep opening the chest as much as possible. From here, inhale, draw your right arm down so you frame your front foot, your left foot, and now adjust your back foot back to warrior one. So we made a note of where our foot was in warrior one. So we've got warrior one legs now, so the hips now are facing the short end of your mat, and your block needs to be the other side. Well, actually, it can be this side, doesn't matter. We're going to open up to the left, twisted triangle, Parivrtta Trikonasana. So ideally, you want to get the block over to that side so that you can complete the rotation. But if that's too tough, have it here, or maybe you don't need a block at all. The important thing here is the length of your spine. So keep drawing your crown away from your tailbone and try and find length in that rotation. One more breath here. Then inhale, release both arms, both hands to the floor, and we're coming up into Parivrtta, Parsvakonasana. So draw your elbows up and straighten both legs here, facing the short end of your mat. So warrior one legs, but straightened. Take your arms, open them, and fold them behind. Maybe you can clasp your elbows, maybe you can clasp your hands, maybe you can come into reverse prayer. So we did this move last week. We draw the chest down towards the mat and try and get your chest parallel to the mat. It's quite tough on that front leg. Now from here, your option, should you choose to take it, is to bend deeply into that front leg and see if that back leg will come up off the mat. And if it will, and you can keep your hips square, see if you can lift your chest and lift your eye gaze. So we're bending the back here. Ekapada Hamsa Parsvakonasana, single-legged swan, intense stretch at the side of the body. And then slide the back leg in and come back into Tadasana at the front of the mat. Release the arms. I'm going to do that on the left now. I'm going to change ends because I think it's easier for you to see me this way around because I'm opening towards you. So soften the knees and take the left foot back, come into warrior one. So again, make sure you know where your back foot is. The position of your back foot varies according to the width and the flexibility of your hips. So if you need to take it wider or turn the toes further forward in order to get your hip heads level, then do so. You may even need to lift the back heel. That's fine. Find warrior one, find the depth. If you've got Achilles tendon issues, then lifting the heel is a good option. Otherwise, you're trying to get the heel down, deep knee bend, both hips facing the short end of your mat. Warrior one. Inhale, transition to warrior two. Adjust the back foot. So again, hips face the long side of your mat, knee tracks to the short side, foot parallel to the short side. And we go deeply into our warrior two. Draw the shoulder blades together. Stretch the fingertips out. Make sure your shoulders are over your hips here. Eye gaze down the front fingers. Exhale. Inhale, straighten both legs. Stick the left hip out, so stick the hips out to the left, draw the fingertips to the right. Now, if I was a wise person, I'd have moved my block. It needs to be by the front foot. And now we're going to tip. So maybe the block's necessary here, maybe it's not. But wherever you are, don't let the body fall forward. Imagine you're pressing your shoulders into a wall. You can do this against the wall. That's another option. If you've got a wall handy, there must be one somewhere in your house. So if you've got a wall handy, do it against a wall. It's a good reference for knowing whether you're falling forward. So this is your Trikonasana. Oh, I haven't got my words this morning. We're going to move to the twisted triangle. So now you bring the hands down, one either side of the foot. Now you need to adjust your back foot. So warrior 1 feet. So get your hip heads level facing the short end of your mat, and then see about revolving to the right. With or without a block. Block can be to the left of your front foot or to the right of your front foot. Depends on the shape and flexibility of your hips, and to some extent the length of your arms. So do what you can. One more breath here. Release both hands, press through both feet and draw up. That's quite tricky. Open the chest, arrange the arms, reverse prayer, folded or clasped, and then come into your Parsvakonasana. Drawing your crown away from your tailbone. You might need to adjust the back leg here, you might need to draw it in slightly. Keeping the spine long if you can. Now, if you want it, bend the front leg. I'm going to just step off my mat here because I'm really wobbling on this big mat. And take that foot. You still see me? Yes. Take that foot up, opening the chest, drawing the shoulder blades together at the back, lifting up that leg as high as you can, and opening up the heart space. Then when you've had enough of that, drop down into a lunge and bring your front foot back into downward facing dog. Press into your downward facing dog. Then come to all fours and sit back in child's pose for a little breather. Okay. One more challenge. So come up onto all fours. Draw your right leg all the way forward to the front of your mat, so we're in a long lunge. And from here, you've got a number of options. We're coming into Uttanprasthasana, lizard pose. You can tuck the toes and lift the back knee. You can adjust the front foot, taking it further out or forward. You can have a block to place your hands on, but both hands need to come inside your front foot. Or you can come down to your forearms, also using the block. Or maybe you don't even need the block. Those are your options. So this is a strong stretch for the hips. Keep powering back through your back heel if your knee is lifted. That's going to really stretch out into your hip flexor and your groin area. One more breath here. And from here, we're coming into Malasana. So if you want to do that in one leap, you can just press your hands down into the mat and power up with your back foot and come into Malasana here, or you can arrange yourself any which way to come into Malasana. So in Malasana, we've got the feet turned out, the heels turned in. You're trying to draw your bottom down and your chest up. So if you're really struggling here, you can build yourself a little seat out of a pile of blocks, or you can put a block under your heels. If your heels refuse to come down to the mat, they might need a little bit of encouragement. If you haven't got a block, you can use a rolled up blanket or anything really, or a pile of cushions, but you're trying to drop your tailbone and lift your heart space. Keep lifting and lengthening and stretching as much as you can here. So if you're an experienced yogi, you want to try the full pose, you bring your feet together. Might need to lift your heels for a moment. Draw your hands in between your legs, wrap them around your shins, clasp your hands together and tuck your head in so you're looking towards your heels. And as you look to them, see if you can persuade them to go back down again. They may or may not. So your arms are forming a garland or a mala around your shins. Malasana. And to come out of it, Just come forward onto all fours, reset your position on the mat, ready for lizard on the other side. So the left leg comes forward now. Have your block handy. Again, you've got the option, back knee can stay down, back knee can be lifted. Left hand comes to the inside of the left foot. Draw your chest forward as you draw your shoulders back and down. Options are to come down to your forearms, but if you're coming to your forearms, watch you're not rocking over to the side. You want to come down to your forearms evenly. So bring them down level and at the same time. Eye gaze to your fingertips. And breathe. We'll stay here for another couple of breaths. Come out of it whenever you've had enough. It is a little bit tough. And then press into the hands. Take that hand back, the other side of your left foot. Stretch your left foot back. We're briefly in plank. 3/4 plank, all fours, child's pose. Okay. So we've got one more quite challenging pose, and then we'll start to wind it down. Sit this one out if you had enough. We'll have a look if you want to. We're coming into fallen star, sometimes known as fallen triangle. So we come up into plank. Power through the heels. Find your plank, find your strength in your plank. Exhale, come up into downward facing dog. Inhale, take your right leg up into 3-legged dog, and exhale as you draw that knee forward and hold it in towards your chest. You can hold it here for a couple of breaths if you're feeling like you want to give yourself a strength challenge. Then we're going to take the right leg underneath the left armpit, roll out onto the edge of your left foot and float your left arm up to the ceiling. So check that your shoulder is over your wrist here and you're using your feet to lift you up. Plenty of weight in the feet takes it out of the shoulder. Breathe. To come out of it, you float the arm down, hug the knee up towards the chest, send it back into 3-legged dog, downward facing dog, all fours, and sit back. Okay, we've got all that to do on the other side. So come with me or take a rest. Catch up when you want to. Inhale to all fours. Exhale to plank. Actually hold the breath in plank. And then we come into downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, draw the knee to the chest. You can stay here for 10 minutes if you really want to. And when you're ready, left leg comes under and through. Rotate your back foot, press it into the mat, and lift here. So you're opening your hips, you're opening your heart. And you're breathing, always. When you're ready to come out, that hand comes down, that knee comes in. 3-legged down dog. Press into your down dog. Inhale and exhale. So that was a bit of a whistle stop, rest in child's pose. Quite a few poses in not very great space of time. But some of you have been coming twice a week now since the end of May. So I want to make sure that everyone's got a challenge. If you're a little bit newer to it, don't be disheartened. Some people have been doing yoga for years and years and years. I've lost count of the years. It's quite a few. Okay, so from here we're coming onto our backs. So you can come via Dandasana, put your feet on the floor or keep them straight, your choice. We're coming down onto the floor. Draw the belly button to the spine, tuck the tailbone away. Use your hands if you need to. If you don't need to, then use your abdominal muscles to guide you gently to the floor. Hug your knees into your chest. Keep hold of one shin. Send the heel up towards the ceiling, and then as you draw that heel down, take the other leg up to the ceiling. Draw the first leg in, send the other heel down. So now it's beginning to look like a bicycle, and that's good because this is Pada Sanchalasana, which literally means foot driving pose, as opposed to horse driving pose. So we are cycling here, yogi bicycle. We're going to do 8 to 10 revolutions forward And then we're going to change direction and pedal backwards. So the slower you do this and the nearer to the floor your heel glides, and the bigger the circles you make, the more you are working your deep abdominal muscles. Keep breathing, keep pressing through the feet. And then when you've done your backwards pedaling, hug your knees into your chest. Roll gently from side to side. We're going to finish off with a twist. So keep holding onto one shin, send the other leg away. Take opposite hand to leg and draw that leg across the body. Stretch the other leg out to the side. Supine twist. So try and keep your shoulders down on the mat as you draw that shin away to the other side. Take your eye gaze to the outstretched hand, or you can look up to the ceiling, or you can close your eyes. So this is one final twist. Should feel like a really nice release for the hips. We've done lots of twists, we've done lots of work on the hips. Inhale to the center. Draw both knees in. Rock gently from side to side in Uttanasana, knee to chest pose. Keep hold of the other shin. Opposite arm to shin. Other arm extends. And open the body, drawing that shin down towards the floor. Try and keep your shoulder anchored. Breathing deeply here. Inhale, belly button to spine, knees come to the center, hug them in. Bring your feet to the floor, knees face the ceiling. Two choices here. Feet can come to the outside of the mat and you can knock your knees in towards them. This is a nice rest for the hips. Or if you want to keep working your hips, one final pose, bring your soles of your feet together and open your knees to the side. Supta Baddha Konasana. Reclined wide angle pose, sometimes known as cobbler's pose. So here you really want to release the hips. If you need some support here, use your hands. Make a cradle using your elbows. If you're still working, if you're still stretching, if you think you've got a little bit more to give, then you can bring the weight of your hands to the inner thighs. Don't stay here for too long. Maybe 3 to 5 breaths. And then gently bring the knees back up to the ceiling. So you can stay here in semi-supine, or I suggest you stretch the legs away into Shavasana, corpse pose. Let the feet flop out to the sides. Let the hips soften out to the sides. Palms face the ceiling, backs of the hands come to the mat, forearms come to the mat. Release your shoulders, release your eye gaze, release your jaw. Soften everything into the mat. There's a direct correlation between tightness in the jaw joint and the hip joint. So now as you let go of your hips, bring your mouth into a soft smile. Let go. Create some space between your back molars. Connect with your breath. How does your breath feel now? Now that your hips float wide and free, is there more room for the belly? More room for the diaphragm to push into that space? More room for that wonderful free gift of prana to fill up your chest space? Fill your body with life force. And exhale once you've taken all you needed. It was never really ours to begin with. Corpse pose reminds us that nothing is ever really ours. Not in a narrow sense. Not in the sense that we grasp and hoard and desire. Nothing is really ours, and yet everything is. Let go of your little self and embrace the universal self. And in that self which you are entire and whole and free. Rest in your true self. I'm going to leave you here now. If you're able to stay here for another 5 or 10 minutes, treat yourself. Treat yourself to time with yourself. Go well. Namaste.